What is up, survivors? This is Harv with Harv's Corner. For today, we're actually going to go back to our roots with some ARC 101. There's a couple of things that I've been asked about that I thought maybe we should probably talk about, and I figured what's better than to start that off. Now I know normally you guys are used to seeing a build video come out this time of week, but in order to, preserve my creative juices, we're going to flip things around a little bit and put out a 101. We haven't done a 101 in a while. I feel like it's a good time for it. Anyway, what we're going to talk about today is how to extend tree platforms, right? So if this really only applies to people that are A, running no mods at all, or B, simply if you're playing on console. Now, this is usually the area that we have to work with tree platforms, right? And the method that I'm going to show you as far as extending these guys out will work on PC, console, whatever. Well, it might not work on Atari. I don't think you can get Arc to work on Atari, so it's probably not going to work on there, which is a shame. It's a shame. Anyway, there is one key specific thing to note. You want to make sure that you have the structure collision prevention turned off. What that allows you to do is to overlap things on top of each other. Now, if you're not certain if that's on your server, let's say you're playing on like a public server, right? And you're not entirely certain if that's something that's running, it's an easy way to test this out simply by making something that's easy to craft. Like in this case, I'm just going to use these two wooden boxes. Now, if I sit this wooden box here and I sit this other wooden box here, I'm still able to overlap them. That means that prevention collision is turned off. It means that I can overlap things and do what I want, right? Now, if you can't do that, it means that that prevention system is turned on and you won't actually be able to do this. Now, you'll be able to do some of this, but you won't be able to do all of this. So listen closely. We'll go through the whole thing, and I'll definitely make a note at that point where where the collision part will actually matter. But so we have a wooden tree stand, and this applies to metal tree stands. This actually applies to cliff platforms too. You can use the same method for these guys. Now, I've seen this done many times, many ways, but this is a tried and true method that seems to work for me. And so let's talk about it. And obviously, if you're running modded servers, you can have something like Platforms Plus, so you really don't care about this video, in which case it'll make me sad, but you can skip it. I won't hold a grudge, I promise. Anyway, so right down here, basically what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to figure out where the center of this one of these flat edges is, right? So one of these edges right here. Now, it's a little bit easier to figure out with a tree platform because you can kind of look at the gap in between the logs and figure out that, oh, okay, this is the center of the tree platform, right? And you kind of want to walk out to the edge like this. So now that I've kind of figured that out of my head, what you're going to need are fence foundations, ceilings, walls, and pillars. That's it. And it doesn't matter necessarily what material I'm making it out of, but I would recommend using stone fence foundations, and I'll tell you why I choose to use those. But as far as the walls, pillars, all that other good stuff, whatever you got access to is probably the best. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the fence foundation. The reason why I tend to use the fence foundation is because it has these holes in it, and it's kind of easier for me to eyeball and line up. So basically what we want to do is center this fence foundation. We want to butt it up right up against the edges. Oh, well, don't do that. That wouldn't make any sense. Don't do that. But anyway, so the center is this line, this gap right here between the logs. This is the center of our line. This is the line that we're going to work off of that creates this center point. Now I want to drop the foundation, this fence foundation, up against this piece here that I'm kind of overlapping. You want to up against that piece, and you want to center it right here. Now what we do is we center it there, we take a look at it, and we go, oh, that looks beautiful. And then, we log out and walk away, and we say, forget about it. I'm kidding. Let's go back. All right, anyway, so we got that one done. We'll tag this one onto this side, this one onto this side. So now we have 3 fence foundations, bam, 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 up against this guy. So what we now do is we take our pillars. We snap a pillar over here. We snap a pillar. Well, we don't put a box down. We snap a pillar over here. And we're looking pretty good so far. Now the rest of this can get a little dangerous if you're not running GCM. So what I would highly recommend is if you're doing this and you're just a regular guy playing on a server, what I would do is use a grappling hook, crossbow and a grappling hook to that tree, just in case you fall off the side. That way you're anchored or something. You're not going to fall to your death, and you can winch yourself back up. Anyway, so what you want to do is you want to pick a wall. Pick a wall, and we want to drop the wall here. Now, doesn't matter which way the wall is facing, but you want to make sure it's consistent. So if all of your walls are snapping like this, you want all the things all the way around to snap the same way, right? You want it uniform one way or the other. So drop the wall down, And then we drop a ceiling on top. And then we drop a wall down. But then we need to go one more wall down. Now, the reason why we need to go one more wall down is because the only way to get a ceiling to snap right here is if you have 2 walls coming down. Now that that ceiling is snapped, we're actually sitting pretty good. So what we can do is remove this stuff. All right, so now that we've removed all of those, you want to come down here and you want to remove this wall as well. So what you're left with is just this ceiling. And if you notice, it just sits here and hovers here like it's magic. Well, it's not magic, it's just the way the snap points work in this game, which oftentimes can be a little silly. But anyway, so at that point, you can now strafe across with 3 ceilings. You can actually go out one more set here. Now, you can't really go out anything higher than that, but the nice thing is you will be able to place walls all the way on the outside here. So you can put walls or railings or whatever you want, but you're not going to be able to build anything else any further out. Now, we've done this part, right? So we're basically going to keep replicating the same thing over and over again. So what I'll do is one more time, we're going to do this over here. So we get our fence foundation and we figure out where our center point is. So it's this gap right here. We nudge up against the side of this like so. We get a little cozy right here. We drop our fence foundation, drop another one, we drop another one. All right, so we place a pillar down here, and we place another pillar down here. Now we place the wall down. So we place the wall down here, place ceiling, wall, ceiling. Pick this guy's up. Again, I would recommend a grappling hook. Obviously, I have admin codes on, so I can bounce around while I'm in here. I would highly recommend a grappling hook or a few while you're doing something like this. But anyway, and then we continue to do exactly what we did on the other side. Now, if you're playing on a server that allows you to overlap buildings, right? So this is immediately where we want to talk about that collision structure placement. So if you're allowed to overlap buildings, you'll be able to do this next step. If you are not allowed to overlap buildings, this is pretty much what you're working with. You're not going to be able to do too much. Now, if you do this, and let's say you're playing on it and you can't overlap things and you're having problems with these pillars being this close, snap the pillar over here instead somewhere. Just snap it over here instead somewhere. It'll still allow you to do the same thing and extend things out. But this is pretty much what you'd be limited to if you can't overlap structures. Now, again, if you can overlap structures, what we're going to do is we're going to start from this inside. Now, with wooden ceilings, it's a little bit easier because you can see the grains of wood and you can tell which way it's going. Now, you can see how it's going to snap. It's going to snap like that. It's going to come off of this ceiling and go this way. Now we want to do the same thing going the other way. Right? So now we have a shape that kind of looks like this. Now we want to do it one more time on the end, like this. And what we get is this shape, and it'll be completed all the way around. Again, you'll be able to build walls. You'll be able to build walls up. You won't have to worry about that. You'll be able to close this all in like you normally would in your tree platform. But this gives you a little bit more area. It might not seem like much, but when you really think about it, an industrial forge typically takes up 3 by 3 by about 6. So 3 ceilings by 3 ceilings. I mean, you almost have full, just by extending this on one side, you almost have all the room for your indie forge to sit in. So this can start saving up a lot of space. And when we're talking about tree stands in the redwoods, you can definitely make 2 levels and double the size up pretty well. This method is pretty much what I would use to extend most of the tree platforms out if I was not using some sort of mod. Now there's ways around. There's plenty of other ways to do this, mixing in foundations to snap off the pillars. It just it can get a lot complicated. I would recommend, if it's something that you have game creative mode or single player with, to tweak around and play with as far as that method goes. But this is a pretty tried and true method that works pretty much without fail. And again, this applies to cliff platforms too. And what we can actually do is, you know what, let me get a cliff platform in here and we'll talk about that as well. All right, so what we have is a stone cliff platform. We're just going to kind of tack it onto the end over here. Now this is a little bit different and it's a little bit trickier, at least the way that I do it, mainly because it's kind of hard to see the center points in these guys, and it's smaller than the tree stand. Let me shoot back up real quick. So if you notice, it's got the same amount of edges going around, but it's significantly smaller than the tree stand is. So typically what I do is I'll still do the same bits, right? Same stuff we use to set up. But I'll walk up to this corner. I can use this inside actually. So you kind of want the fence foundation to be exact as you can. The more close to perfect that you are with placing these, the better it's going to look overall and the easier it's going to be. Now you can definitely do it. There's some wiggle room when you're doing this stuff like this, but if you're a perfectionist, this is actually going to help you out because it's going to make things look pretty good later on. So if you saw, I snapped that just as the fence foundation was clipping the edge of this guy and did the same thing on the other side. So we end up with something looking like this. And from that point on, we're just doing 2 fence foundations instead of 3 because of how wide it is. But it's the same process following through. And we're just going to pick everything up. Come down here and pick this guy up. Now, the only difference is obviously you don't get quite as much room added to this because it's only 2 ceilings out on every direction instead of 3 ceilings wide like the tree stand. It's only 2 ceilings wide. But you do get a considerably more area when you look at that. So this method, like I said, is definitely going to save your butt if you're using tree stands and trying to get more of a little bit more room out of it, you know what I mean? But anywho, it was something that I thought about, and I know we do a lot of building, and we've done some tree stand builds where we extended them out, so I figured it'd be a good thing to kind of go over and talk about. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot something in the comments, and I will try to get back to you as soon as possible, as usual. But, you know, that's pretty much it. That's how to extend tree platforms with no mods, console, whatever you want to do. You know. But yeah, that's it, guys. Thanks for watching the video. If you found this video useful, hit that sub button, hit that notification bell so you can see when the next videos are coming out. Feel free to follow me here, follow me on Twitter, and also check out our Discord. We stream here on YouTube Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern playing, well, honestly, we never really know what we're playing. We do play some Mark Sunday nights, though. That's always guaranteed. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. And until next time.